Well, the album certainly didn't start out as a concept album, far from it. It was more a kind of a theme idea that I had, really, and that was about friendship, lifelong friendships, um, hopes and fears for the future. Something that came along quite early, actually, was before anything else had been done, was the title for the album, because The View From Here, I was thinking that was quite a good metaphor for where the guys are at, a life lived, but hopefully still a long way still to go. So the view from here is kind of symbolic of being stood in a place, and whilst you're still, looking over your shoulder at what's been, you're looking forward still at what's to come. The Golden Road came first because that was really a metaphor for life's journey, the trepidation of, what's still to come, but looking at it from, a positive perspective. I'd floated this idea saying old fashioned Spanish galleons or sailing ships that, what if they could fly in space? It was just really that kind of idea that kind of set the ball rolling. And I'd found this AI app where you could, write in prompts and bits and pieces and it would come up with, an image. One night, and it was really late, I was trying to get it to come up with this image of a ship, a galleon, but it was in space. A lot of trial and error. A lot of it was not relevant at all. And all of a sudden, bang! There was this one image that came up, um, and I was like, "Oh wow!" I thought, "Wow, I can't believe that. That's exactly what me and my dad have been speaking about." So I was like gone 11 o'clock at night, and I rang him to sleep as normal. Well, you would expect him to be, wouldn't you, at that time of night? And I said, Dad, I've just done this thing on this AI app. I said, I'm going to send it to you. And we couldn't believe it. We were literally gobsmacked. And that's what kind of started it all off, really. So I think what's important in terms of the concept of the album is it's very, very accessible. There was a point about halfway through where I was thinking, "Oh, I don't want to disappear up my own ass with this." You don't want to create something where people feel alienated with it, or they think, "Oh, I've got to flick to page 5 on the album notes to understand what that song's about." So we didn't want to go with that. I think the thing that I was always confident of is that we were never changing the themes of the album from that very first idea, which was about life's journey, friendships, hopes for the future, a bit of fear in there as well. That was always still very central. But what started to kind of come to the fore with creating this like mini world within itself of these ships were, well, the ship's going to need a crew, and who are those people? So when people listen to this album, I got to the point where I was like, great, I think that's going to work, because if you're not interested in album concepts or stories and all that kind of thing, and you just want to put an album on that you're going to enjoy listening to, you can definitely do that as well with the songs that the guys have come up with. Um, there are many layers. There are things. I think we all do this with all albums that we listen to, don't we? You'll listen to a song and then 2 months later you'll be listening to it and you'll go, "Oh, I didn't pick that up the time before." It might be something in the composition of the song itself. It might be some of the lyrics or something. But that's certainly the case with this album, and that's what I'm kind of into. So I kind of really doubled down on that, and I thank the guys in the band for letting me have a free run with that, because every time I would come up with something I would tell them about it and put it forward, and it was always greeted with a kind of a smile and a bit of a laugh, but a kind of an encouraging kind of, yeah, well, carry on with that, Ross. But when it comes to the imagery of the album and the album cover and the kind of the types of images that people are going to see in the booklet, I think what I was going for was, as well as the album's themes and what the songs are about, I think as a thing, what we were trying to achieve was, if you walked into a record shop in the late 70s, is this an album that you would see in terms of the artwork? And I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. Kind of plays on all the the things that I really like about the artists that I was into. So obviously, you've got like Yes with Tales of Topographic Oceans. You've got Kansas, The Point of No Return, Left Overture, the Boston albums using a very like space theme, although it's actually a guitar upside down, if you don't know that. I'm sure many of you do now, but we didn't for years. So go and look at a Boston album. You'll see that kind of UFO image on the front. Look at it a bit more carefully. Look at it upside down. And then it's like, wow, never seen that before. That was amazing. So I love all that kind of thing. I love all that kind of thing. So although there's nothing that's subliminal on the album cover for The View From Here, I think what I really liked about what we eventually came up with was obviously it's a view, so very symptomatic of the title itself. But it's kind of got this older gentleman on there. He's a wise man, and he's making this gesture to a couple of the blue balls on the album. And I kind of felt that that was almost like he was a grand master, if for want of a better phrase. It's like he'd lived his life and he has now mastered something as grand as the cosmos. So was really pleased with that. Quite a lot of them started with my lyrics, and Matt Finn and Dave and that have chosen from all the different ones that were out there. But when Graham brought his song in and then Barney came in with his song, they weren't, they're not a million miles away from what, the thematics of the album, which is, friendship, overcoming challenges, but in a hopeful way, looking back in hindsight at stuff, but also looking forward at the same time. So I think it all kind of just, it's slotted into place. Really, you never know, when you get a group of people together, what are the ideas that they're going to put forward at that time. And I dare say that if everybody actually came together today and put forward 10 or 11 ideas for songs, they would be markedly different from the ones that have made it onto this album. But I certainly think all the songs definitely fit the thematics of the album. And as I've said previously, there is a concept there to be discovered if people want to. But I think ultimately, um, people are really going to enjoy listening to the album. It's all the things that people have liked about the band since they kind of got together 5 years ago. There's a lot of power in the music, bombast, but there's a lot of sensitivities in it as well, which kind of that's important because the guys are all so talented. I think that all comes across in abundance on the album. So really, really looking forward to people hearing it now, and really looking forward to all the little questions that might come up and being able to tell people about it, because we've been sat on this now. Well, I've been sat on my elements for about a year now. Really, that's all happened in the background whilst the guys have been recording and actually putting this thing together.